it does all come down to accessibility as well. So the things that you do to help your users better navigate your content also is going to help crawlers. So this is things like having image descriptions, alt text, transcribing our webinars and video content as well. It just makes it more accessible to humans and to crawlers. And we should still always be delivering everything with a human first approach, because at the end of the day, they're the people we're here to build trust with. And it shouldn't be a game. It should just be like doing good stuff to do good stuff.
Hey, agency owners, Corey Miller here with hosting.com. SEO for any agency or website owner is essential, but so much has changed and is being disrupted today. If you've ever felt like SEO is changing faster than you can keep up, you're not alone. Me too. But this one is for you. I asked our resident SEO expert, Daphne Monro, our head of website and content at hosting.com, to give some perspective on how SEO is evolving and what we're doing here at hosting.com to give you some ideas and insights for you and your clients. Daphne brings deep experience, not just inside hosting and hosting.com, but from years working in agencies like yours, running her own agency, working with global brands, small businesses alike. In this conversation, she breaks down her SEO approach in plain terms, starting with the customer journey and then covering domain health, technical performance, content clarity, and the big one, modern signals like AI overviews, unlinked brand mentions, all the things that ChatGPT, Claude, others are starting to shake up in SEO. And by the way, this is just the kickoff to more deep dives coming from with Daphne, including an upcoming webinar that she's got called SEO for the LLMs. You're going to want to pay attention to that. It got my attention as I heard in a meeting what we're doing and asked her to present that to you all. So you want to sign up for that too. But for now, there's a ton here for you and helping your clients win in 2025 and beyond. It's all a part of who we want to show up for you as your trusted partner and support. So listen in to Daphne and take some notes. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Agency Success interview. And I've got one of my favorite people here at hosting.com, Daphne Monro. She leads our website and SEO initiatives, and having worked with her for the last 5 months, she knows her stuff. And here's the thing, I'll let her tell the story a little bit about, but she's also been an agency owner, worked in agencies, and now works with some great agencies leading our strategy for what we do in SEO. And we know, Daphne and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and she was just sharing some of the things she's working on for hosting.com. And I go, oh my gosh, let's get you on. Let's share this with other people, because you're asking these questions too. And today I'm showing up as your curious question asker. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about that. But Daphne, welcome to the Agency Success Show. And thank you for being here and sharing your expertise so openly. Now people are going to get to see what I get to collaborate with you all day, every day. But tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me today, Corey. So I'm Daphne. I grew up in Las Vegas, where I started working at an agency with partners like MGM, and really found my love and passion for SEO there. And as soon as I moved across the seas, I decided to start my own agency, which focused on small sustainable businesses in Bristol. And if you know anything about Bristol here in England, it was a good niche to be in, great area to make connections, but really also to hone into those SEO skills at such a great time, because the SEO world was really quickly changing. From there, I've worked in agencies that have worked with global brands, big UK household names like Tesco Mobile, Sally Beauty, and many more. But luckily for me, I found my way here to hosting.com, where I get to work with you, lovely bunch, and get to touch all areas of website living and learn more about domains and hosting and the whole pie altogether. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Well, and we've got some webinars scheduled already. We'll put those in the show notes with Daphne. One is called SEO for the LLMs. This is part of what prompted this whole conversation and scheduling some webinars with you, because Daphne, I don't know about you. I think this field oftentimes feels like the wild, wild west. It changes. It feels like every day. My 20-plus-year-old SEO knowledge that I've confessed to you was find a keyword that's relevant, write some words, post it, and you'd get traffic. And then it got really, really competitive, as it should, because that's where the fish are swimming, and we're finding them through SEO. But I want to talk about all these things because our agency owners are building sites for their clients, and there's some key things they need to just know. Even if they're like, I don't do SEO, you still want to get that client site ready when they put content in. That's one I'll be coming back to you about, is the technical SEO from a web developer standpoint at some point. But then it progressed. Here's my latest thing, and I want you to kind of correct me here, coach me and correct me. But I'm like, okay, it went from find a keyword, write some stuff, publish it, probably going to get some traffic. Got super competitive. Then it was like, okay, the advice I heard all the time, and this is why I want you on and doing these, is because we need people that do it every day at the level that you do to help share it down for us. But then it was like, okay, 1,500 words, 2,000 words, uh, anchor keywords, pillar cross ref, all these kind of things. So I'm just curious, from like that standpoint to now, what do you think's changed? What's different? And maybe even what's the same, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, great question. I mean, gone are the days where you can have keywords hidden with white text on your site to help you boost your rankings. And I think it's really all for a great reason, because we're now rewarding people who put out things that users actually want to see, instead of just getting everything out there because you mentioned a specific word enough times to fit there. It goes all the way back to like 2011 when the Panda update happened at Google, which started rewarding higher quality content. And then also brings us to 2022 when the Google Helpful Content update started. And then today, where we're living in the EAT world, EEAT, we need to make sure that we have our experience, expertise, authority, and trust front and center on everything we do. But taking it back a step to what your question was, so we're looking for a keyword. We're trying to work out how many words we need on this page to answer this question correctly. And we still use a lot of that because it's important data points. For example, when I start researching a new product that we're going to launch or a new blog, I will still look at what's ranking and how many characters ranking articles have and what topics they have. We do something called skyscraping content, which is looking what's ranking and then adding that next level to actually take it that level higher, building skyscrapers. And all of that's really, really important because we need to make sure we have the foundation, but we need to make sure we're always adding that something extra. Um, I also do still recommend implementing your keywords and titles and using internal linking and using those keywords as links. It's fundamental SEO, and it's how crawlers understand your site. Whether it's Google or an LLM, they need those contextual pieces to understand what the content is actually referencing. You probably don't need to write those 1,500 word blogs anymore, though. And actually, what we're seeing is better rewards with things that summarize things quickly and give solid answers. Other places I'd recommend putting some time into are building author portfolios, that who wrote what and why they have any authority to be sharing their stories in this space. That's something you can see across our hosting.com blog. We've got a lot of experts on there sharing their stories and a great author portfolio. Um, Also, just taking a look at what's ranking and learning from that and doing your research with what are people commenting, what are people missing, diving into things like Reddit or other social platforms that aren't your traditional go-to SEO sources, is also very important.
Fantastic. I knew you'd have a wealth of experience to share. Like, as we're doing these things, and you think about a hosting company, like hosting companies are ones that really own SEO and PPC, or SEM, I guess. And I think there's so much that we can share back with our agency owners. So that's why I love part of this. I, I want to go back to something because I've seen you live this, but I want you to talk about it for a second. When we talk about keywords or whatever, and the way you shared EEAT, it's something we live here and try to live here, which is just the buyer's journey. What are they when someone's coming, they've got a problem, they go online, and start to search for the answer. We want to show up for that. That's the base approach to SEO, right? Is really getting embedded with what are you selling? Who is the other person? But could you talk a little bit about that approach? Because I know it doesn't just go technical, and we're going to talk technical. We're going to talk a domain specific, but there's also this, I don't know, for lack of a better word, psychographic data. So I'm on a mission. I want to build a website for my business and I'm going to type in a keyword. But can you talk a little bit about that approach before we get into okay, this is how we lay down all the tracks and foundation to get there?
Yeah. So just to make sure I'm headed in the right direction, we're talking about like a keyword research. How do I make sure what I'm showing up for what this person is searching for at the right time with the right content?
Yeah, how you think about the before when you get to all the strategies we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
next, but, you know,
Awesome.
you you know the customer, you know the journey they're on, and what do you think about and what goes into that to go, "This keyword or this strategy is what we're gonna do for this particular product, service, company?"
So, if you've ever talked to me about SEO, you've probably heard me say this, which is I love SEO because it allows you to show up at every step of the journey. It's one piece of marketing that covers the ground, right? Whether somebody's doing an informational search, if they're ready to make a transaction with you, or a navigational search, you can make sure that you are there. And with all the amazing tools and all the updates that are happening all the time, you get that information at your fingertips. So with keyword research now, it's really I would even go as far as to say easier than ever before. Even though it takes more strategy, it's easier to understand what the user is looking for. So when we do our keyword research, and maybe this is to talk about your products and services, or maybe you're looking to write some thought leadership pieces, it all kind of starts at the same heart, where you put in a word and you go down and you explore that web. So using hosting as an example, if you put hosting out there and you look at the search volume, like, wow, that's great search volume, but it's very competitive. And it also maybe isn't exactly what people are searching for what you're trying to show up for. So then you dive into your longer tail of keywords, like what is hosting? So that's obviously going to be an informational article, or best price for shared hosting. That's probably going to be something that allows you to compare different prices in the market, not a transactional landing page, as one might hope and want to rank for. But we actually have to look at what people are getting served for with that intent of that keyword and then match that. So that means being able to show up in all these different formats, which I love. And then also by building out those different resources and answering to those different search intents, you build out your own keyword cluster. And it means that you as a whole are more authoritative for that core hosting keyword. And with internal linking, users can easily navigate to more content across your site that makes you seen as more trustworthy and are more likely to convert.
Because you're really showing up for them, how they need, what they need at those points in all this
Exactly.
different way. So I think just grounding us back in that is so good. Like your customers, those of you agency owners listening, and your clients, there's probably some words that come up that they think of when they're looking to solve whatever problem. And what, Daphne just said is there's these paths where you're showing up all through this cycle. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna butt in a little bit and just say, one thing about this though with, ChatGPT and other LLMs that are available is that that space started to get really, really cluttered, right? Because people were understanding that I needed to build out these content clusters, I needed to build these webs, but they were just putting an answer in ChatGPT and rinsing, repeating, and publishing it on their site without adding that extra level. And you may see an increase in vanity metrics like keyword portfolio size, but that's not actually going to equate in high rankings or visits to site or transactions overall. And I think that's really important that even when you're doing this keyword research and you find your space, you know what you want to build. It's really important that you just don't put that into ChatGPT and then copy and paste that and put that on your site, because even if you do rank for that keyword somewhere, it's not going to be enough to get that engagement and get that reward long term. So it's really worth the effort to put time into your content and answer the questions that are really being asked, not answered.
And I think if an agency owner is talking to their client, they go, one little quick is what are the 5 common questions you get asked every day? And that's a starting gold mine to go, that is EEAT, right? That is going,
Totally.
I'm gonna be their expert on the other side to completely help them, with through my content. But I think what you're also saying is it's not just copy and paste. There needs to be strategy and thought behind this and a plan for it, and I dig that.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so we started there. Now I want to think about and talk about there's everything you've mentioned to me in preparation for this, and everything is domain level. There's technical and there's content. Those are some of the 3 I've heard you talk about often as we write and produce our own content through the strategy. But where do you want to go next? So, okay, we've talked about this, mapping it to the journey, showing up for them every which way. Now, how do we think about
Yeah. I mean, I always say the story starts with the domain, so it's a good place to start. Domain health is often overlooked, especially by new business owners. Somebody may see a good domain and run to market and not realize that it has a dodgy past, or not have done a little bit of research beforehand that would have allowed us to have a better foot forward as we launched our new website. Because the internet has been around for a while now, and a lot of domains have been owned by someone at some point. So one thing I highly recommend is running to whatever your favorite SEO tool is. Mine, and this is not a plug, is Ahrefs. I use it religiously, and just seeing what first and foremost the domain ranking is. So that is a score from 0 to 100 that is used as kind of an indicator of authority. So I don't know, a really good news source like the BBC is probably gonna be in the 90s, onwards, with 100 being extremely hard to reach. And a new business that's just been launched with a domain that's never been used is gonna be a 0. So these are things to consider when, looking into that. But also, once you've got your domain, all this content is going to build that domain authority over time, and the backlinks that go to it help boost it too. So auditing the existing backlink portfolio and ensuring that you've got your SSL certificate functioning correctly and that all of your links are HTTPS. That stuff is also extremely important.
So we've got like a 2-3 month experiment on a not a new domain. It's been registered for a long time, but I'm not sure the history of hosting.com. But I mean, we're in that work right now. Is that right? Like trying
Well,
to
we are extremely lucky that hosting.com did have a exceptional backlink portfolio for whatever reason. So right now I would say our score when I checked it today being the 15th of July 2025, it was about 81 out of 100, which is exceptional. So yeah, watch this space though. She's going to continue to grow.
but I know that's where we start. We just had a meeting, I think a couple days ago about this is building that domain. I think that's what that meeting was about is building that domain authority, right?
Absolutely, and that's actually extremely applicable to our conversation regarding LLMs, is having authoritative tone and authoritative content is going to always result in more results.
Yeah, it's gonna resonate, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you're showing up as authority and you're really aligned with the customer journey, their needs, challenges, and problems, and writing that good content, and that's part of year 3, I think, then that should be a great result. Okay, so what else on domain? Because we're gonna get to everybody. We're gonna get to this big question of the LLMs, by the way, but I want Daphne to share her process. So domain is the first.
so domains, then of course, once you have a website and a domain and you've set up on hosting.com's great hosting platform, we will then move to the technical health of our website. So things to consider there are obviously site speed and performance. Using Google's Core Web Vitals is a great starting point. We've got 4 of them. The newest one being FID, which is first input delay, which you can actually audit in your Google Chrome browser right now by right-clicking and hitting inspect, and then heading into your log and clicking around and seeing what that score is. I love it because it's new, but I also think it's really, really applicable to how users are actually experiencing our website. Of course, that's why they brought it out. So when a user clicks a button, how long does it take to get to that next step, for example? Where the more traditional, like LCP, is how long it takes that largest contentful paint, the largest area of your screen, to load.
Okay,
Um,
remember, I'm a noob. LCP. What is LCP?
largest contentful paint.
Gotcha.
So really just getting that loaded on your screen. Um, but I digress. I won't dive too much into the the metrics. But you can easily run reports using Lighthouse reports in your Google Chrome browser as well. And things to just be mindful of, I guess, are monitoring your mobile over your desktop, because even if your user base is desktop heavy, Google does rank and index mobile first. So we want to make sure that our experience is good there, because we want to rank well.
Yeah. Okay, so we started with the address. What neighborhood do you live in? Is it a good one? That's the domain authority, it seems. And then we went to, all right, is everything in the structure good? But you mentioned something, speed and performance. So we're impatient creatures, increasingly more. We want it now. We don't want to wait. But anything else to that structure side, the technical side that comes up?
Yeah. I definitely recommend looking into caching. Whoever you choose to do that with is very important. Server side caching is generally better from an SEO perspective, because it delivers that fully rendered version HTML of your site directly to the crawlers. Where if you ever do client side experiments, which we do, A/B testing, of course, we want to learn more. But because you're having those variables on your website, it may make it harder to get those ranking keywords, especially as a new site. So that's another thing. When I was an agency and a new client would come to me and they'd be like, "Well, I want a website like Gucci. I don't want to have to put all this content on my site." I had to remind them that we are not Gucci, and that we actually really need to put time and content to make sure that the crawlers allow the time to understand the content that is on our site, render it, index it, rank it, and then that the results come in. So, and I'm sure everybody's heard this a million times as well, but SEO is not a quick win game. You got to put your time and effort in it. So definitely spend some time on the technical health, the structure of your site. So this is things like having the correct heading order. So H1s, you should have one H1, that's your title of your page, followed by H2s, and then H3 should be nested under the H2s only when applicable. I know one thing that's been a challenge in the past, and when I've had clients come to me after an audit, they have all variable headings, because the heading structure is actually tied to the design in whatever CMS or web page builder they're using. So I'm not going to drop any names, but it is something that is tied to a lot of the visuals in these pre-packaged um,
Yeah,
options that
themes.
people use. Yeah, themes. And it's definitely worth looking into, just because as our sites are getting crawled more, and if we want to show up for LLMs, we want our sites to be crawled more and more. So our content is getting out there, doing these little things, having the correct metadata, showing our structure of our site. So, gosh, metadata can be used for products so that you can put pricing and ratings, and this helps us get rich result snippets on the SERP. But it also can help with LLMs understanding what you're selling and how much it costs and where it's going. There's a lot of things we can do. Another really, really important technical tidbit is to have robots.txt rules. So blocking parts of your site that you want to have blocked, and making sure that the right crawlers can come in. I've talked about it before, but we've specified which LLMs we want to crawl our site in our TXT file, just as a trial, because we heard about it. There's a lot of things that are trial and error right now because there's a lot of unknowns. But actually, the results after specifying some of those LLMs in our robots.txt file has been really great, and we've seen an increase in conversions from that source. Another quick win is to have a sitemap and to submit your sitemap on Google Search Console. That just tells Google, hey, this is where I am, and these are all of the pages that I want you to read.
Fantastic. And by the way, I mentioned the SEO for LLMs live stream Daphne's going to do in August. You're going to want to come there and get the full download. We've just kind of touched it today because I've got questions, but I want them to be shared on that webinar. So be sure you sign up today for that. Okay. So we talked domain, we talked technical. What's next?
Whew, I guess domains, technical, and then content. We've delved into content a lot. And then I guess the final pillar, if you will, would be how other people talk about us. So our offsite SEO, which is extremely important. And this can be looked at as digital PR, it could be backlink building, guest posting. There's a whole world out there. One thing that we've also seen, Ahrefs did a report on this earlier this month, which is unlinked mentions actually have a great weight in rankings on LLMs, which is something that didn't really happen with previous search models like Google, for example, or Bing, because if the link wasn't tied to your name, then you didn't really get that authority. But it seems that the LLMs are understanding this connection better, which is great, great thing for hosting.com because hosting gets mentioned a lot. Um, but it's good to know and to monitor, of course, whenever your brand gets mentioned. The link is obviously going to add that little extra something something, but it's an interesting change in the ecosystem, these unlinked mentions.
Well, it's making space too for the new AI stuff that, like you said, we're still testing, we're tweaking, we're always doing that. Everything's kind of getting formulated and it's evolving and growing. But another one that's really interesting because it was one of those things you always link it, in the footer, in the whatever.
Yeah.
This is me, old school, not Daphne, by the way. This is take notes of what she's saying. Okay, so that we talked about a lot there. That's that foundation. That's that key strategy approach for showing up as the expert for your customers on their journey. And I love that. We're going to go deeper in different webinars in the coming months, by the way. Um, is now the time to say, what about AI? What about the LLMs? From the standpoint, I think there might be two parts here. Is one is when you shared like we're directly feeding data into the layout, I was like, well, that's awesome because they have to. I know they've scraped all the data in different forms, but it's not always living data. So now there's a way to feed. That's huge. So there's that. You know, it's not just Google and Bing. It's also the LLMs.
Yep.
And I think there's another side to this, which is I've seen you work too and be really, really good. Is like AI is a great tool. It still needs some contextual, some editing, some quality control on it. Um, but I just want to put the thought out there for a second for your thoughts on
Yeah.
the age of AI we're in as it relates to
Thanks.
SEO.
I think specifically in regards to SEO and in regard to Google, it's important to mention AI overviews because if you've been in the SEO industry for a while, you've probably used organic clicks as a success metric because people used to have to come to your site to learn more. And Google implemented the nice little highlight feature, which drove users to the specific section of your website that answered the question they were looking for. That was a great time. But now with the Gemini introduction on the SERP, which is the AI overview, we are seeing aggregated results like you would on ChatGPT being shown in the top section where a rich result typically would go. And a rich result is often something that you get rewarded off of the back of implementing this metadata that we previously discussed. And that could show up in a lot of different ways. But the thing that's really important to know is that Google's AI overview is not a rich result. And it is only done by this AI model using your content on your site as a source. So even though that structured data helps this happen, it's important to know that you won't ultimately be rewarded with it. And this is what drives us back again to this topic of authority. And authority is super important. And it's the same thing. You want to go to a doctor who knows what they're talking about. You don't often want to go with the student who started yesterday with nobody else in the room, you know? So I really love where this is going. And I think this is the right direction to make sure that we're giving people real answers to the questions they're looking for and helping people end up exactly where they need to be. But taking it back one step, AI overviews are zero click results, obviously. So people are not ending up on your website. However, it helps you build your authority and it's something that you should still strive to be and something that you should still monitor. And the more you show up there, the more likely you are to show up in other spaces as well. So I would just start regarding that as a win. and just understanding that our metrics are shifting and we just got to change with the times.
Yes. Okay, that you just stole my question. It is not, I talked to a lot of agencies. I've worked with a lot of SEO consultants and experts over the years, and I always, when I hear something from new, I go, "How old is that model?" And increasingly it was easier in the first. It's gotten more competitive for good reason, but I think there's the thing I see you model and ethos is we're never done. We're always evolving. And one thing I think I brought up to you was, okay, I start seeing the AI and I go, okay, well, SEO is over.
The amount of times I've heard that is hilarious.
Tell me what you think and react to that.
Oh, I mean, it's we're still searching. We're still searching for answers. We're just changing the method. And as SEOs, we need to make sure that we shift our strategy. And if you were trying to use a hacking method before by just shoving a bunch of keywords and duplicating content and plagiarizing, you probably weren't the right person for people to end up on your page anyways. So I would definitely as a white hat SEO, as some might say, I think this is all really, really positive, and it means that we get to amplify the voices of the right people. So yeah, it's all gravy for me. I'm very excited about where we're headed.
Well, I think one thing you said to me that was just SEO is still SEO. And it really rang a bell with me. And when you just said people are searching for answers, the platform, the method might change a little bit, but I think it was a great, it just felt good to me aspirationally to go, okay, well, I'm seeing a bunch of ads on Google now, where it feels like Yahoo in the late 90s is just an ad and the AI summaries and thinking, what does that mean for those of us that rely on search traffic?
Yeah.
But this is where we get into the LLMs and you and hosting.com feeding that data straight into that and going at some point, we're going to be referenced, like just you saying, not even necessarily linking it, which was a signal to Google in the past or present, but like the LLMs look at it differently and go, no, that's part of your authority too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to just continue to uncover a lot of these new things that we can lean into. I mean, one thing that's really important uh, is sorry, I almost went back a step, which I'm going to do it anyways, but it does all come down to accessibility as well. So the things that you do to help your users better navigate your content also is going to help crawlers, LLM and traditional crawlers like Google and Bing. So this is things like having image descriptions, alt text, transcribing our webinars and video content as well. It just makes it more accessible to humans and to crawlers. And we should still always be delivering everything with a human first approach because at the end of the day, they're the people we're here to build trust with. And it shouldn't be a game. It should just be like doing good stuff to do good stuff.
Yes, and we had a webinar back last year with Bet Hannon who does accessibility, and one thing from that is like doing the right thing. That's first and foremost. But then if you need a business case for accessibility, it's there's a huge market of people that can't access the web like other people. And if you just strictly for a second put that into a business case, you're broadening your market and you're also showing you're great human and want people to
Totally.
uh, your services. And then it has SEO benefits. You're adding to that whole catalog of knowledge that the LLMs or Google, whoever it is, kind of sense about what you're doing. And that's where we want to be, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're gonna get more into the AI. What about content? So this is the other side of AI. I know we have used some. We're still getting originally written content and things like that. But your thoughts and approach to using AI for SEO content creation.
Yeah, a great question. I use AI all the time. I use AI to bounce back ideas, brainstorm, to see what is already ranking in that space. So now, where I go to Ahrefs to do keyword research, I also go to ChatGPT. I also go to Grok. I also go to Gemini. I want to see what the sentiment is there, what's showing up, and what I can learn from that.
Mm.
Uh, I think the more research we put into anything, the better, because it helps us be better at our delivery. When it comes to simply copying and pasting a 1,500 word article that you ask ChatGPT to spit out, I will say did actually work in the early days. And I have a friend at an agency I used to work with here in Bristol who just for fun started a website that was for fake retirement holidays. Like she just made it and she just did a blog a day, ChatGPT, copy and paste, put it out, and she was getting traffic. But it's not a long-lasting strategy, and it's not something that is gonna continue to be rewarded. We're learning these flows that ChatGPT loves to put out, which is it's not just semicolon, it's which is what I see all the time, or, being flooded with M dashes, which, again, are normal things in human writing, but when it happens over and over and over again, it's gonna get flagged. It's not human, and it's not if the user can just have that quick answer, which I think is another thing why AI overviews and ChatGPT are so successful, they don't need to come to your page to read a 1,500 word article because they just needed that one quick answer and then they're out. And we should be showing up for the people who need that more in-depth stuff. And also the quick wins. I mean, put a TLDR on the top of your summaries on the top of your pages, wherever you like. There's a lot of things we can do too. And content is ever expanding. It's not just blogs, it's also video content, it's also infographics. And all of this goes to help build your authority. Sorry, I kind of ran away with that one.
I love it. Okay. I don't want to steal too much content from our future stuff. I wanted you all to get to know Daphne a little bit, see her expertise in living motion here. I mean, she lives, breathes, eats this, um, and kind of ground back in some key principles. What I heard early on was, start with the customer and their journey, and that's what buyer intent keywords. They're trying to find an answer to a problem or an obstacle they have. And then you walk through domain, content, technical stuff. Okay, how do we make sure our structure, our website, our domain, and everything is ready? And then starting putting in those answers, those key things people need as you hit them on every part of the journey. And so they really do. I mean, EAT is a great acronym for just reminding us it is about the humans and start there. I think too often we look at it as a rule and we go, it's a great rule, but it should come from the heart of know your customer, know
Totally.
what things are bringing up for them. Like right now, I'm doing these interviews with agency owners to see blank check, wish for the stars, what should hosting be? And bringing that back to our product teams, and our marketing teams to go, these are the things that resonate with them. So customers change, markets change over time, staying close and then adapting your SEO strategy that Daphne's mentioned, I think is a great start. And you're going to get more in the future webinars and conversations we have. Okay. Couple last questions while we wrap up here, Daphne. One, if someone has been like me, has been frozen in time, and they're like in 2015 strategies, today, what would you go? Here's the 3 things I want you to know most about approaching doing SEO in 2025.
Gosh, that is a loaded question. 3 things. The first thing I'd say is if you're an SEO who hasn't been in practice for many years or has been using the same strategy, the first thing I would do is audit your site and consolidate. Because where we used to spread ourselves really thin, creating lots of content, often content targeting the same keyword, but a little tweak here and there, that used to be a win. It's not a win anymore. So having one long article with a table of contents that you update regularly with applicable information, the most recent information, is actually the best thing to do. Because authority actually lives on that URL, it's really important that you keep going back and using that same URL with your updates as they come in. So I'd always start with an audit and content consolidation wherever applicable. And then I'd start asking your customers what they're doing. And if you don't have a direct link to your customers, start seeing what your competitors are doing. What are they writing about recently? What are the big guys doing in this space? And that should start getting your brain going for your content creation. And then the third thing that I just leave you with is it's never a one and done. SEO is infinite. Thank God, because I'm always going to have a job. Because there's so much to do. There's so much to learn. And not only is there this algorithm, like the Google algorithm that we want to uncover and learn. But now there's all these new algorithms as well that we need to stay on top of and see how we can put ourselves, our best foot forward, front and center for the people we need to show up for.
Last question. Give us a preview of the SEO for LLMs live stream we've got booked in August 2025, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you attend the SEO for LLMs webinar, you will definitely get a deep dive into what works and what doesn't, and real metrics from our experience here at hosting.com. You will not only get to walk away with new resources, but also tangible skills that you can implement right away for yourself and your clients to show up better across the space.
And as always, thanks for that, Daphne. I'm so grateful you're so busy doing what you're leading here, a bunch of things in the works, a bunch of people you lead here, and taking your time to share this real time things we're learning as you do. Our strategy is going to be excellent. And so everybody, this is part of our ethos at hosting.com is we want to share the humans. So why I invited Daphne and a lot of our colleagues, we've got names. I'm going to be going down and picking and saying, okay, it's your time. You heard from the office hours. Aaron Campbell showed up, Ollie Feldman, who leads our global sales. And now you got to meet Daphne, who is our head of website and SEO content. Daphne, thanks so much for your time today. Now you're super busy and you need to get back at it. And I can't wait to take all those learnings and share those from you to our great agency success community. So thanks so much for listening today. And thanks again, Daphne, for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. And I really look forward into diving in more detail and more depth later on with you.